All right, welcome everyone to the latest edition of the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 technical update briefing for December, our holiday edition. Thank you for joining. As previously, we'll be taking questions during the call here via chat. So if you do have questions that come up as we go through the content, feel free to put those over in the chat and we'll try to adjust those there. Otherwise, everyone will be on mute as we go through the content here. And also, we will be recording this session and that'll be posted sometime after the call here. The deck is also available and out on our blog, and we'll post the link to that as well. So you can download the slide deck over there and get all the links that we're talking about today. Also, if you're interested, we do offer a technical update briefing as a dedicated delivery. So if you're interested in having a dedicated delivery to your team, feel free to reach out to your Microsoft representative and you can have that delivered as part of your support contract with Microsoft. So today, my name is Ryan Anderson. I am a senior cloud solution architect and focus on Power Platform and Dynamics 365 on the customer engagement apps. I'll be presenting on that side of things. Madan Sampath is also with us today. He'll be covering, or he'll be answering any questions you may have in your chat, in the chat today. So feel free to post questions there. And then also with us is Tom Stumpf, who is a principal cloud solution architect and focuses on Dynamics 365 finance and operations. And he'll be covering that area today. So with that, let's jump forward into the content, and we'll start with our featured news. All right, so first up, as many of you probably know, we had our 2022 release wave 2 that was completed in October. And so that release wave 2 should be live now in all environments. And so with that, there's a number of new features that were introduced in release wave 2. And with that, you can do more with less and empower your growth and agility. So make sure you're taking a look at all the good features that came in release wave 2. There's some great videos that are put together by some of our leadership. And you can look through those and watch those that cover Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. Things like using Dynamics 365 and Power Platform to help reduce costs and complexity, scaling low code across your organization, doing more with less. There's a video around Dynamics marketing, sales, customer insights, and also Viva sales. So make sure you take a look at that. There's some information around AI and automation capabilities, customer service, field service, remote assist, connected spaces, all that good stuff. And so make sure you take a look at those videos to get more information there. Also, just a quick summary on the release wave 2, like I mentioned, that started rolling out in October and should be now complete. All those features that are in release wave 2 cover everything between October and March of next year. So it's not always, not all features are immediately available, or not all features are even turned on immediately when it gets rolled out. So take a look at the links here on this slide to get more information on the release wave and what it all includes. There's some things that are turned on immediately. There's nothing that you need to do to turn those on. But there's other ones that you might want to look at where there may be actions needed, depending on the feature and depending on the audience that's meant for. Okay, we'll jump into service updates, and first we'll cover Power Platform and Dynamics 365 customer engagement apps. So first off, I think we've probably covered this one before. There is a new release planner that's in preview right now. This it's an interactive experience with this release planner. It's a little different than kind of the typical release plans that were available for the different release waves. Previously and still available are just kind of the static PDFs and the web pages that show the different features that are in the different releases. This release planner, the idea here is that to be a little more interactive. You can actually go in here. If you sign in, you can track different features or add them to your release plan. So if there's a certain features that you want to kind of want to follow, you can add those to your own release plan and then follow them throughout the cycle. What I like about this is it's really easy to see when features are updated. And so if you're following a certain feature and maybe a date changes or something like that, it's pretty easy to see that. There's also some good capability for searching and grouping and filtering those different features based on topic or based on month. And whether it's a planned feature or whether it's coming soon or it's available now. So if you haven't looked at that yet, I would definitely suggest doing that and start taking a look at the different features and adding those to your own release plan. Okay, up next, let's talk a little bit about deprecations and retirements. Again, there's a difference between deprecations and retirements. Deprecation basically means that we're announcing that at some point in the future, a certain feature will be going away, or there won't be support for it, or it'll be retired. And so retirement means that feature actually will be either going out of service or support will be stopping for that feature. So kind of in the last couple of months, we've had a few of these that are worth mentioning. Back in October, the Dynamics 365 connector was retired. So this was kind of one of the first connectors that was put in place for things like Power Automate or when you're building Power Apps. And there are some different options as to what the recommended replacement for that is. So if you were using that, make sure to take a look there and see what the best course of action is. The Microsoft Dataverse Legacy Connector, so that's deprecated. So that's not out of service yet, but it's just deprecated. So if you are using that, make sure to start using the different alternatives there as well. And I would definitely suggest taking a look at the article that's linked here in this slide. And then lastly, there was some in the customer service app, the SLA items in the web client were being retired. That was originally scheduled for October. That's now going to be in April. And so I would suggest looking at that article. The dates change, and so you can always get the latest information in that article. And then in November, there was the OData version 2.0 service retirement. That is actually moved to April as well. And so again, watch the article. But if you are using that, you want to make sure that you're moving off of it and starting using the alternatives. And then the data export service is being retired in favor of Azure Synapse Link for Dataverse. And there's some different options there as well. So if you're using that, make sure you have a plan in place to move forward. Okay, a few topics just on updates in general. Like we talked about, Release Wave 2 is kind of the latest. Typically, there's 2 release waves each year. As you can see in the screenshot here, the Release Wave 1 was back in April. That was April to September. Release Wave 2, it was now October through March of next year. And so that cadence should continue going forward. So we'll have another release wave coming up in April of next year with the dates leading up to that for early releases and things like that. So you can get more information on the links on that slide. This next slide is the service updates specifically for Microsoft Dataverse. So you can see the different versions there and the different dates. This also is just a good example of typically how updates get rolled out. They get rolled out across what we call stations or regions. And so depending on where what region your environment is in, the dates can be different as far as when when the latest versions get rolled out to that. Both on these weekly updates, but also in the wave releases, it's very similar. So if you're in if your environment is, say, in the Canada region, that's going to be in Station 2, so you're going to get that earlier than, like, say, if you have an environment in North America, which is Station 5. So just be aware of that. All this is documented out on the public websites, so you can see exactly when these updates are getting rolled out and when you can expect them in your environments. On the Dynamics 365 apps, there's different service updates specifically for the apps as well, and the cadence on those can change or can be different between them. For sales, typically it's every 2 weeks. On the customer service app, usually weekly. If you're using field service or marketing or any other app, just make sure to check the links here and keep up to date on when those updates will be coming that are specific to the apps themselves. Power Platform service updates. Again, there can be different updates depending on what area you're using. Power Apps themselves, both the Power Apps, but also the Maker Portal and the Power App Studio. Power Automate, both the cloud Power Automate version and also the Power Automate desktop. There's some different updates there. Portals and Power BI also have latest updates as well. I know that there's some later updates in September. I think that maybe for Power BI, that slide quite hasn't been updated, but typically that's a monthly update as well. And then lastly, if you're using on-prem, those updates are usually coming monthly as well. So both for versions 9.1 and 9.0, there is a November update there. So make sure you take a look at that and apply if it makes sense for your environment. All right, and I will hand it over to Tom for the finance and ops section.
All right, great. Thanks, Ryan. Moving on to finance and operations, we'll take a look at some of the service update that apply to these applications. So first off, we're sort of in a quiet period with respect to updates or service updates for finance and ops. We haven't released a new service update for a little while. The next one coming is in January. So the most recent generally available version is still 10.0.30. 31 is still in preview. And so just kind of a reminder on service updates, you can be up to 3 versions behind. If you're configured for auto updates, you'll always be getting the newest version. And we do provide 7 service updates per year, which if you look at the 3 versions behind, means you can be you have to take a minimum of 2 service updates per year. On the quality update side, those continue to churn out every week or so for each of the in-service versions. So work on quality updates and availability of quality updates continues to progress there. So moving on to the next topic here. So this is a big one for finance and operations customers. We are moving into an area where proactive quality updates are going to be applied to production environments starting here in the next year. So for a little while now, we've been deploying proactive quality updates to sandbox environments. That started in the fall. Production onboarding of proactive quality updates starts in mid to late January. And what that means is when you're onboarded to a proactive quality update, you'll be getting 1 proactive quality update per month for the versions that are in service moving forward. So very similar to kind of the station approach to how Dataverse is updated. Okay. The next thing here is just for our commerce customers. This is just kind of a good reminder of some of the different version requirements here. So if you're for finance and operations, the back office portion of the application suite doesn't have any requirements with respect to commerce, but the commerce scale unit and client apps have certain requirements based on the version of the back office that you're running. So for details on this, just click on the link down below. All right, moving on to product updates.
All right, thanks, Tom. So we'll start with some Power Apps product updates. First slide here, again, kind of back to the release wave 2. This is just a nice list of some of the top features that are included in release wave 2. You can see the feature itself, but also who it's enabled for. So typically this is either users, and the feature is just turned on automatically, but also can be for like the top line there says users by admins, makers, or analysts. So that basically means the feature itself is for users, but there needs to be an action by an admin to turn that on. And then lastly, the other option there is the admins, makers, marketers, or analysts automatically. And that means that the feature gets turned on automatically, but is more meant for admin type roles. So they're kind of divided up that way. And then also you can see some dates there as far as whether a feature is public preview, whether it's early access or GA. And you can drill into those to get more information, or like I mentioned before, back to that release planner, you can find those in that release planner and track them there and kind of see the updates as well. Okay, next up, we've announced the general availability of managed environments. This was in preview before, but now it is GA. So managed environments offer a set of enhanced out-of-the-box governance capabilities, and that simplifies and automates and streamlines IT administration. So there are a number of features that come with managed environments that make governing and managing much easier. You can limit sharing in those environments. You can get the weekly email digests sent to admins that kind of give a summary of everything. You can provide data policies. So a lot of ways to manage your environment with managed environments. One note here is that if you're using managed environments, it does require that users that are running apps or flows have a standalone Power Apps or Power Automate license, and it is something at this point that you need to turn on separately. So you can get more information on those links here if you want to turn that on in your environments. Okay, another feature, this one is a preview feature currently, is license consumption, and you can now see that license consumption in the Power Platform Admin Center. This is currently an opt-in experience, so you do need to go turn this on if you do want to see this. It's not enabled by default right now anyway, but you can see things like how many licenses have been assigned to users, have license been, who have they been assigned to, which apps are driving the license usage, some of those type of things. So kind of an overview of how the license consumption, you can see that in the Power Platform Admin Center now. So again, you have to turn that on separately, but once you do, you'll be able to see that information. Another feature we wanted to mention is the creating Canvas apps in solutions by default. So again, this is something you can opt into, or you have to turn on manually, and this is a preview feature right now. But basically, this uses when solutions are used by default when makers create Canvas apps. So that solution can contain one or more apps as well as other objects as well. But by default, that the app that they will make will be put into a solution, so it potentially can be moved to the other environments if needed. But in general, adding it to the solution by default just creates a better ALM practice in general, and creates managing the low code type development much easier. All right, another feature that we wanted to mention is the IP-based cooking, IP-based cookie binding. Sorry, not cooking. The cookie binding. This is to mitigate the risk of a cookie replay security threat in Dataverse, and this blocks the cookie replay attack, and it does it by evaluating the IP address attached to the cookie. If the cookie IP address in the request is different than the IP address of the cookie where it was originally created, then the API will reject that cookie in real time and prompt the user with a message. So again, I believe this is still in preview. It is something that you need to turn on manually, but that is available now to help mitigate that risk of a cookie replay security threat. And another preview feature is the content security policy for Power Apps. Power Apps has had support in model-driven apps since the beginning of the year. That was configured by running a script as a system admin. With this new capability, you can control the CSP header for model-driven as well as Canvas apps, and you can do that through the Power Platform Admin Center as a manual option there. Another feature we wanted to mention here, there is a preview coming for data archival capabilities. So this is currently set for preview in March. And so you can follow along with that back in the release plan site. But the idea with this is that admins will be able to define an archival policy for a table. For a root table, and all the child tables will be archived in Microsoft Dataverse, and a new dashboard will be available to manage that. Keep updated on this with the release notes or the release planner, as this is currently scheduled for March for a public preview. A few Power Page updates here. A few links. There's some announcements, some other useful Power Page links, and some information about licensing. So if you're using Power Pages, make sure you take a look at those links and the information here. And then also a little bit of information on Power Pages on what early upgrade really means. So take a look at that. There's Pages updates are twofold: the updates to the Power Pages solution and updates to the website host, which is what forms the actual Power Pages website. And then there's an option to enable portal for early upgrade, and that's found in the Power Pages Admin Center. So you can take a look at that article to get more information on what early upgrade really means for you. And then also another article around there's no Power Pages without Dataverse. So take a look at that and get more information on Dataverse as it relates to Power Pages. Okay, and let's jump into Power Automate. So again, this is a list of some of the features that are available with Release Wave 2 for Power Automate. Same information there, so take a look at those if you're using Power Automate. There is an update for Power Automate Desktop for November, so some new features there. Warnings have been introduced for Power Automate for Desktop, more SharePoint connections. and a license request form also introduced with Power Automate for desktop. There are some new process mining capabilities with Power Automate. This is in preview. Earlier this year, Microsoft acquired Mineit, leader in process mining, and has been working to bring that experience and process and capabilities to customers. And part of that is through Power Automate. So with the addition, you can look deeper into insights to identify bottlenecks in processes and drive optimization and efficiencies with that low code automation. So again, that's in preview. You can take a look at that and get more information by some of that process mining and digging deeper into the data. Okay, up next is Power BI. Again, a list of some of the Release Wave 2 features that you can take a look at there. One of the new features that we wanted to mention for Power BI is the new cache refresh settings available in Power BI Premium. So earlier this year, we announced the additional analysis services server properties that are supported in Power BI Premium and embedded. You can modify the XMLA-based analysis services server properties. And today we're adding another familiar server property that will be supported by Power BI, and that's the client cache refresh policy is now configurable. So that is a new feature within Power BI Premium, and you can get more information on the link there. All right, Power Virtual Agents, again, just a list of the new features that were made available in Release Wave 2. So if you're using PVA, make sure to take a look at that. And I will send it back over to Tom.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. All right. For finance and operations, a few things that I wanted to cover here are relating to some, well, I spoke earlier about the proactive quality updates that are pretty new and will be brand new for production environments here. So, and one of the things that we can do to prepare for proactive quality updates is enabling the priority-based batch scheduling feature. Most versions of the application already have this enabled by default, but the trick is it does require some configuration. So you want to be aware, number one, be aware that the feature is enabled, and number two, go through the work of configuring it so that it's actually doing what it needs to do. So what is priority-based batch scheduling? Well, one of the key things that it does for us is it decouples our batch tasks away from individual infrastructure, meaning this batch job is going to run on this specific application server. Instead of that, we have pools based on priority, and that allows us to perform servicing operations in the background without impacting these batch jobs. There's also batch retry that comes into play here too. But if we remove any one of these batch servers, we want to be able to allow your batch jobs to continue processing without being tied directly to specific infrastructure. So this is a really important thing to consider, especially now that we will be rolling out proactive quality updates to production environments this year. Okay. Next on the list here is another important one, and we've seen an uptick in some cases related to service protection API limits. So I just wanted to cover this and make sure that people are up to speed on what this actually is and what you need to do. So service protection API limits are basically things that are implemented to help ensure the application remains available and stable and it's not, and you don't have an integration or other activity taking up too many resources, and then therefore causing performance problems or availability issues. So there's a couple of two different types of throttling here that are in play. And the first one, excuse me, is resource-based throttling, and that's based on CPU and memory limits within the application. Those limits are already enforced. The new one that it is not enforced until 10.0.30 is user-based throttling. So that's something like request rate, execution time, concurrent requests, things like that. So it's important to understand that when these limits are hit, what the services are going to respond with is a 429 message saying too many requests, and then the integration has to understand that that 429 message is coming back and then perform retries based on that. So for more information on that, I provided a couple of links here. One is a video, and then one is some documentation. All right, the next thing I want to cover is a new monitoring feature that has been added in 10.0.30, and it's enabled as a preview feature. So you have to go into the feature management and enable it. But then it allows, basically what it's doing is allowing telemetry to flow directly into App Insights. And then you can create your own alerts, dashboards, and other things to look at usage trends and other things within the application insights. Excuse me. So take a look at that feature. It's in preview with 10.0.30. Another thing that's always good to take a look at the end of the year is data cleanup. So one thing that's interesting here is that there are more than 70 different cleanup jobs that exist within finance and operations. And a lot of times they're a little bit hard to find. So there's some great documentation that covers some of the most common cleanup routines, and just take a look at that. Some of the ones that frequently get missed: batch history, data management staging tables, notifications, things like that. So this is a good time of year to kind of review data cleanup. All right. The next thing I want to cover here is a feature that was added this fall, but was not advertised very much. And it is the ability for finance and operations on-prem deployments to basically automate or trigger the deployment of a package to a test environment. So previously you weren't able to automate that, but now with the latest version of the tools, you can add that into your pipeline and automate that as well. And I think that is my last one, and we'll hand it back over to Ryan.
All right, thanks, Tom. So let's jump into the learning corner here. In this section, we provide some, can be some different things: links to blog articles, links to videos, other learning opportunities that you can go and consume yourself. The first one here is around Dynamics 365 customer service. So if you're using the customer service app, definitely take a look at this. This is around collaborative customer support, and this is powered by an embedded Microsoft Teams chat within Dynamics. So this allows for things like case swarming and agents being able to resolve issues faster just by more easily consulting peers or getting other people involved who may know the topic better. So definitely take a look at this. If you're using customer service and Teams, and you can create this embedded Teams chat here to help improve your customer service experience. Up next, there is a new optimized learning page for Power Apps. And so this is designed to help bring you up to speed if you're going to be building Power Apps or using Power Apps. The idea here was that it kind of consolidated all the content from all the different Microsoft resources to help you with onboarding and upskilling when you're using Power Apps. So take a look at this. There's some courses out there, articles. You can access the community and support from that as well. So if you're getting ramped up on Power Apps, make sure you take advantage of that resource. Next is a great article around enhancing Power Platform processes with adaptive cards. And so adaptive cards are snippets of UI that can be used kind of across the platform, whether you're using them, in Power Apps, but also in Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, mobile apps. They're very useful across a lot of different platforms and different scenarios. So take a look at that as well, as it can be very helpful in multiple areas. On the professional development side of things, there is a set of Power Platform dev tools. There is an October update there, but typically this is kind of command line interface type updates. There's some new capabilities there to help automate some of your processes. Things like in the Power Platform side, there's some like fixes to solution packing, unpacking, and syncing. There's functionality around Azure DevOps and GitHub Actions, application installations. So if you're more on the professional development side and want more information on automating some of those processes, definitely take a look at what tools are available there. And then again, we just included some of the videos that our Power Cat team has put together out on YouTube. So this covers a range of topics, all in the Power Platform realm, the COE toolkit, Power FX, imports to Dataverse. So lots of different things here that this covers. But if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to take a look at those. Subscribe to that channel. A lot of good information coming out there. All right, and we're back to the finance and ops.
All right. So just a couple of things here. One, the finance and operations blog. I just wanted to call out one recent blog post. It actually applies to one of the features that I called out around application insights. So there's a blog post here talking about how you can leverage application insights and kind of what does it look like to go implement that. So that's a good one to check out. There are some upcoming tech talks that could be interesting here that are on the list for December into January. In fact, the first part of December, there were a bunch of them as well. So if you didn't have a chance to check those out, they are either posted as recordings or will be posted as recordings soon. But a couple that I thought were good to call out here, the optimizing the experience in Dynamics 365 Finance and SCM, and then actually one that's not listed here, but will be in a recording very soon, is about year-end close. So if you're interested in signing up for any of these Fast Track Tech Talks, just click on the link and you can view them real time. The recorded Tech Talks are always available. The link is provided on this slide here. A couple of interesting ones that are recent. There's one, the One Admin, LCS, and Power Platform Admin Center integration topic, which is just basically talking about how we're bringing the two platforms together, what functionality is existing in LCS that would be moving over into Power Platform Admin Center. So it's a great a great one to check out for that topic. And then the other one here, basically looking at best practices around executing your migration from the retail SDK to the commerce SDK. So that's a good one for our commerce customers. All right, and that's all that we have for today. Ryan, you want to close us out?
Yeah, sure. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Tom, for covering the finance and ops. Thanks, Madan, for responding to the questions on chat. I posted a link to the blog article where you can find the slide deck here, and then also we'll be posting the recording of this when it becomes available. There's a few links on this for our blogs, both on the customer engagement side and also finance and ops. The aka.ms/power platform tub is where you can get information on this webcast and also the slide deck and recordings. You can find us at PFE Dynamics on Twitter and catch us there. You can also, if you follow us there, we'll be posting updates as to when the next webcast will be as well. So thanks everyone for joining today. Hope everyone has a great holiday season, and we'll catch you next year.